today we're looking at a brand new meter from ZOYI ZT-R01. Yes, it's the all-new ZT-R01 thermal camera / multimeter. And a big keep on testing shout out to ZOYI ZT-R01. Thanks so much for sending the meter in for this review. You guys are awesome. Brand new for 2025, ZOYI released the ZT-R01 IR thermography multimeter. They call it an IR thermography meter. What I mean by that exactly is it uses something that's called thermal imaging dual light fusion. Dual display infrared and natural light supporting the different levels between infrared and natural, creating that image. So a slightly different take on the thermal imaging. True RMS and 25,000 counts. That's right, 25,000 counts this multimeter boasts. Whoa, good job. In the box, well, let's start off with that box. Once again, IR, 25,000 count DMM, 2-in-1 meter. We're seeing more of this these days. I love it. I love it. I love when they combine that multimeter along with a different sort of test instrument too for the price of one. You gotta love it. Hey, speaking about price, get a load of this. It's around 100 bucks Canadian, 80 euros or so. So definitely cheap for what you're getting. 25,000 counts. Here's the picture on the box as well, just giving you a look at what you're getting there. You know, sales in the sizzle, right? And on the back, yes, because this does do graphing as well. We'll take a look at that. So check it out. What else do you get? Well, you get your USB-C cable. This one's fairly long. It's not one of these mini short ones, probably about 3 feet. That's to charge your meter because, yes, it does rechargeable batteries, has rechargeable batteries, good stuff. Of course, we get our test leads and we get the user manual itself. And look at that. We're getting some pretty decent pictures here. The manuals are definitely improving as time goes by. Look at that. Wow. Everything you need. In fact, yeah, this manual is in English completely, so no Chinese in this manual for English speakers. All English. Awesome. Good stuff. So a lot going on with this meter. Physically, with the body of the meter, they've done a really good job. Sort of seen this design before. We have that plastic exterior here, but we have a nice rubber inlay on the sides, so you get a lot of tactile feel. If your hands are greasy or oily, what have you, this is really going to help gripping that meter. Very nice job. Buttons are all soft touch buttons, feel really, really nice. Yeah, we don't have that standard selector switch. They have opted for the soft touch buttons, slightly because of the thermal imaging capabilities. And look at that. There's our milliamp, microamp, high current, as well as the positive and negative inputs. So everything there at the push of a button. On the back of the unit as well, there is our camera itself, along with a flashlight. And let's check out that tilt stand. Oh yeah, so it's one of these floppy tilt stands. Not the greatest, to be quite honest, but it will do. Better than not having a tilt stand. Once again, it'd be nice to see if we could have a hanger capability with this, or even a magnet, you know, a magnet on the back. You just, you know, stick it on the hood of your car and away you go. But anyway, we have a tilt stand. On the meter, hold down on the power button. About 2 seconds or so to boot, and we are greeted initially with the multimeter screen. Look at that. Now, if you look closely, one thing you're going to notice is on the inside of the meter, there's a bit of a red halo going on. Can you see that? So I contacted ZOYI ZT-R01, and they contact their engineering department, and that is normal. So that sort of red hue you see in the back of the display, you know what? That's the way it's supposed to be. So there you go. And it's supposed to be like that. Now, it's a little more prominent depending on the time of day, what your light situation is. Right now, it doesn't look so bad, but sometimes I find it slightly irritating. I wish there was no blotch at all on the display, but, well, you know, it's normal. At the top of the screen here, we can tell that we are halfway through in terms of battery life. And look at that main screen. We're in DC volts right now. Maximum voltage, minimum voltage, average voltage, frequency, everything here by default. So lots of information on the screen. And 25,000 counts as well. And you can tell by, look at the number of zeros we got here. Oh, I love 25,000 counts. If we compare the little ZOYI to the standard size 702S, for instance, you can see the 702S is quite a bit bigger. So yeah, pocketable, not pocketable, but either way, very manageable. Included test leads are 10 amp, Cat 2, 600 volt. A little bit of strain relief going on here. Your restorative standard OEM generic leads, you know, they're okay. A little bit small for my fingers, but nonetheless, they'll do the job. Okay, let's start off with the DC voltage accuracy test. The precision reference here has been heating up for about 15 minutes. Should be looking at 5.000 volts, 25,000 count display, and we're pretty close. 4.99. Let's just see if we can hit 5. 4.998 as close as we got. Definitely within spec. Same thing, but this time with a 10.00000 voltage reference and an output coming in at 9.998-ish. Awesome. Okay, let's take a quick look at voltage now. I've got this hooked up to a power adapter, so we're only going to go up to 20 volts right now, sitting at 5.00. Look at that, 5.00. Bring it up to 7.00 volts. 7.00. All right, let's try 12 volts. 11.996. I'm going to max it out now at 19.71 volts and 19.69. You have multiple options in the menu selection button by clicking this, and we have a lot of different options. Like I said, you can have a timeout going up to 120 minutes. By default, it was at 15, or you can turn it off completely. Leave it at 15. Here we have the size of the storage. Right now it's 60 megs by default. Here we have the brightness as well. Maximum brightness is pretty bright. You can see the contrast really builds up. I'm going to bring it back down just to conserve battery, what have you, to around 50%. It finally gives the version of the model, version V019. I'm not sure if we can do updates with this firmware updates. I'll have to take a gander in the user manual. That'd be awfully cool, but I don't know. We don't have any Bluetooth compatibility with this, so let's just see here. Do I see anything that talks about firmware in the manual? And I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. I'll dig a little deeper, but it doesn't look like we can update the firmware on our own, which is really too bad. Yeah, all right. Bottom of the meter here, you see the graph button. So clicking on that brings us into the graphical display, gives us a charting output of what we're getting on the meter itself. Once again, using our portable little power supply. I'm going to bring the voltage down just a bit. Down to 12 volts right now, and you can see that graphical output is starting to change. Take it all the way down to 0.7 of a volt. Bring it back up. Back up to 19 volts. So you see the dip we had going from 19 down to basically 0 volts, and then back up again, all coming out on this chart. So if you're monitoring something in real time without paying attention, hey, very cool. In terms of handling, the overall feel, the quality here is really nice. It's top notch. You get a good tactile response with all of the buttons, and everything just fit and finish wise feels like $100. I mean that in a good way. Like, it just feels solid. So in terms of long wear reliability, I think this is going to bode really well. It's just, well, it's got that ZOYI ZTEC quality. To get the meter into AC or DC amps, simply hold down the power button for about a second or so, and it gets us into current mode, AC or DC. Now that we're in current, hey, let's try it out, shall we? We have a maximum of 10 amps, high current. Let's put our meter into current. Well, not our meter, but our input jacks into the high current input. Also, right now we're in AC amps. Want to switch that to DC amps. And there we go. Okay, sitting right now at 5 amps DC, and 5 amps DC it is. And we'll bring that up as well. To 9.23 amps is, and 9.23 amps is what we are showing. So something cool as well, if you take a look at that screen, we're getting a little more info here. So it's telling us that our minimum current so far with this session has been 0.15 of an amp. Maximum so far has been 0.923 of an amp. And see if we're going to have a high current alarm. And we do. Bring it back down. Excellent. Okay, quick look at resistance. Right now we're in resistance mode. Now we have a rel button. Got the leads together. We're sitting at around 0.2-ish of an ohm. Have to hold for 2 seconds to rel. Now it's been rel. Try it again. Definitely better. Okay, I've got a 100 ohm resistor. We'll start off with that. It's a little finicky. Wow, it's really going back and forth. So we're sitting at around 101, 102 ohm. All right, let's try that 0.5 of an ohm. Actually, undershooting by a little bit. Isn't that interesting, eh? Yeah, so in terms of the lower resistance, probably not the most accurate out there, but yeah, it'll do the job. Continuity stock default test leads. Not too shabby. Let's try the ProMasters. ProMasters. Definitely faster than those OEM leads. Oh yeah, and louder too. .3 decibels, maximum output in continuity. It's not that loud. Thus far, it hasn't been bad. Nothing stellar out of this world in terms of performance or accuracy. It's been good, but we have not looked at the IR thermograph as yet. Let's do that now. By the way, yes, you can update the firmware. I just found it. Insert the supply Type-C data cable, connect the instrument to the computer. Once connected successfully, the computer will display a disk of 15.7 megabits. Open the drive, find the firmware folder, and place the prepared firmware files into this folder. At this point, the program upgrade bar progress will be displayed. Please wait patiently. And don't turn it off. Don't turn off your meter when it's doing a firmware update. So yeah, you can upgrade the firmware. Good stuff. All right, back to the thermal imaging. Now this only has a 32 by 32 output. Not that high res, I'll tell you right now. So what they're telling you to do right from the get-go is to determine the emissivity of the target object. Now, if you see in some of my previous reviews, you know, the emissivity is what these thermal cameras are looking for. So depending on the object, whether it's a piece of paper or a piece of metal, they all have a different way of absorbing that radiation and giving off that emissivity. So most people don't know what to set their camera to in terms of emissivity, so the default should suffice for most people unless you're really doing something that requires high precision of accuracy. I'm not even going to play with the emissivity here. Just going to let it go at the default and we'll see how it functions. So to get it into IR mode, we press the IR button, hold it down, and bada boom, bada bing. We are now in infrared imaging mode. Now that 2.4-inch TFT high-definition display looks a little bit small, and, you know, they also have used really big fonts to give us a reading here on the side. So I'm right off the get-go, I wish this would have been reduced in size just because we have a pretty small screen here, and, well, that just makes it all the much smaller. Okay, let's take this camera and do some scanning. Start the thermal imaging off here with my dog, Hugo. He wasn't too impressed. My 4K microscope's been on for a while. You can tell that heat signature on the microscope. Now, that being said, it's awfully hard to get a good visual. Not exactly what I would call crisp. Here I have a main board from a NAS that I'm presently troubleshooting. And once again, you know, no macro capability with the ZOYI. Yeah, look at that. It's really hard to discern components at any level right now with the picture coming through. That it's you know, I'll let you be the judge. Now in the furnace room, taking a look at the hot water tank. Again, I find it really hard to get a good thermal on that thermal tank. And we've got 4 color settings here, color palettes, going through them right now. And even though I'm switching those color palettes, visually at least, I'm not really getting any better indication no matter what mode I'm in. Everything still looks like a smudge. And it's really hard. Like if I was doing something, you know, critical, it would be really hard to get a finite thermal image with this camera. This is a copper pipe inlay over here. And once again, you know, not a solid thermal image coming through. Alright, here we are on the back of the meter. Teardown time. Here we go. Let's start off with the top portion. We don't have any shielding per se. There is our lithium chargeable battery. There is our 2-pin connector for the PCB over here. As well, we have that ribbon cable that goes out to the thermal camera itself. And we have another 2-pin, actually that's a 3-pin, 4-pin connector to the main board, also powering that thermal camera. Yeah, pretty good plastics though. Nice ABS, good quality as always from ZOTEK ZOYI. And a little bit closer here, we have our 10 amp 250 volt fuse. Over here at the top, we have our W9825G6KH. It's a high-speed synchronous dynamic random access memory, and SDRAM chip is what it is. That runs off 3.3 volts as well, up to 200 megahertz clock frequency, the whole 9 yards. So a nice stick of DRAM in our multimeter. Over here, this IC is completely brushed out. Have no idea what that main IC is. That's too bad. We do have one PTC over here as well, some diode clamping going on. Sticking way out is our USB-C in to power that lithium. And here are those input jacks. Split variety. See this all the time. Nothing wrong with that though. They're nice and tight with those encasements. Are small but rather thick current shunt. And nice spark gap protection as well over here. So nicely done. Nice PCB as always. Never an issue with ZOTEK. Now one thing that they didn't do, and that's too bad, is they didn't give us no brass threaded inserts for removing the case cover. There's 4 Phillips to take off that case. So that would have been nice. Over time you can always have who knows what wear and tear going on. So too bad that is omitted from the overall design. Anyway, there you go. Gonna put it back together, come back with my closing thoughts. Closing thoughts on the ZOYI ZT-R01 thermography multimeter. Yeah, I'm sorry, ZOYI. Unfortunately, this meter just didn't cut it for me. I was really disappointed with the overall visuals. Multimeter slash thermal imaging meter. Two very different things, and I think if we're going to combine the two, they really have to work in unison. In this case, the thermal capabilities of this meter just didn't work. Every image was buzzy, fuzzy. I couldn't get a clear, concise image of anything. Looking at some of the advertising images I've seen, I find it hard to believe that that was the meter they used to pull those images. I didn't get that. Not only that, in terms of the multimeter itself, that display, that red display really bothers me. When the lights are low and you're doing your thing, I found that I kept looking at that, display, just not being happy with it. I really wish there was a way they could make it nice and clear without that blotch. Yeah, it's really too bad because I really wanted the best for ZOYI in this review. I wanted to show this meter everything it's capable of, and I somehow feel like we got cut short. quality just wasn't there in terms of those thermal imaging capabilities. Maybe it's 32 by 32 has a lot to do with it, but at the end of the day, you want a thermal meter, you want to get a good thermal image. This one just doesn't have it. Physically, it's a great looking meter. It's built well, as always with ZOYI ZT-R01. Their test instruments are top notch in terms of build quality. They're built to last, and this one is no different. That being said, I feel so bad, but you know, I call them like I see them, and unfortunately, I cannot recommend this meter. The ZOYI ZT-R01 thermography multimeter gets a dismal 2 out of 5 stars. Maybe a firmware update, maybe something down the road, another revision, maybe it's going to get better, but as it stands, there's better choices out there. Thanks for watching this review, everybody. Till the next one, keep on testing.